All right, so let's dive into this whole world of like mega companies.
Okay.
Specifically, we want to look at why Microsoft is considered such a standout investment,
Okay.
even among like the other giants that are in that like trillion-dollar club, you know.
Yeah.
So we've been looking at this Motley Fool article.
Right.
They're a pretty well-known financial services company,
Yeah.
and they make a pretty compelling case, I think, for why Microsoft might be like the top pick in this category.
It's interesting. They even with these products that have been around forever,
Right.
they managed to stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Like Windows.
Yeah, it's been around for decades.
Exactly. And they've integrated AI into it and
Yeah.
cloud services. They've created something kind of new out of it.
Yeah, it's like they've taught an old dog some new tricks, and they're talking about this intelligent cloud segment,
Right.
which is already a huge moneymaker for them.
Right.
And they're constantly expanding the use of their Copilot AI assistant. You know, they're weaving AI into everything they do.
Exactly. And the impact is like undeniable, you know?
Yeah.
Look at GitHub Copilot.
Okay.
That's their AI tool for developers. It's become the most widely used tool of its kind.
Wow.
And it's helped GitHub reach, get this, a $2 billion annual revenue run rate.
$2 billion.
Yeah.
That's not just pocket change. That's like a testament to their strategy.
Exactly.
But what I find really interesting is they're not even stopping there.
No.
They just announced these like new autonomous agents that work through Copilot Studio.
Right.
And they could do some pretty amazing things.
They're really something. They can process sales orders, generate leads, even help with customer service. It's like having a whole team of AI assistants working for you behind the scenes.
Right.
So for you as an investor, that means they're constantly finding ways to add value.
Right.
And create new revenue streams.
That makes a lot of sense. So instead of becoming like this massive, slow-moving ship, they're using their size and their resources to be nimble and innovative.
Yeah, they're using their size as leverage to invest heavily in growth, but they're still rewarding investors with stock buybacks.
Yeah.
And consistent dividend increases. And this brings us to another point, which is their incredibly strong financial position.
Okay.
They have more cash on hand than debt, which is really rare for a company of this size.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit.
Sure.
The article mentions this chart that shows how Microsoft has reduced its share count,
Right.
increased dividends, and expanded stock-based compensation.
Yeah, so they've reduced their share count by almost 10% over the past decade.
Wow.
All while consistently increasing those dividends.
Yeah.
And expanding stock-based compensation. So that shows they're actively managing their finances.
Okay.
To benefit both the company and its shareholders. So for you, that means they're focused on creating value.
Okay.
And sharing it with investors.
So it's not just growth for growth's sake. It's strategic growth that benefits investors.
Exactly. And they're doing this by building what's called a moat around their business. It's a term that's often used to describe a company's competitive advantage.
Okay.
And Microsoft's moat is incredibly wide, encompassing a diverse range of products and services.
They're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
So tell me more about this moat.
Okay.
How is it built?
Well, think about their revenue streams. They have Microsoft Cloud, Windows, Office products, LinkedIn, Xbox server products, and more. This diversification protects them from being overly reliant on any single product or market.
It makes them more resilient to economic downturns or like shifts in the tech landscape.
Exactly.
But it's not just that they've like maintained these revenue streams, they've grown them.
They've grown them significantly.
Yeah.
Over the last decade, their revenue has increased by about 162%.
Wow.
Which is impressive on its own.
Yeah.
But their operating income has nearly quadrupled in that same time frame. And a big chunk of that growth comes from their intelligent cloud segment, which alone brings in more revenue and nearly double the operating income than the entire company did a decade ago.
That's crazy. Sounds like they've hit on like a winning formula. But there's one thing that stands out to me in the article, and that's the price to earnings ratio.
Okay.
Or the PE ratio.
Right.
It's currently at 37.1.
Okay.
Which seems pretty high.
Yeah.
Why would investors be willing to pay that much for a share of Microsoft?
That's a great question, and it's one that a lot of investors grapple with. It might seem expensive at first glance,
Right.
but you need to consider the quality and consistency of Microsoft's earnings. They've shown this remarkable ability to grow earnings consistently across multiple segments,
Right.
and they're also strategically buying back stock, which boosts earnings per share.
So it's not just about the earnings number.
Right.
It's about the reliability.
The predictability of those earnings.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that kind of stability is highly valued by investors.
They're willing to pay a premium for that kind of confidence.
Exactly. And when you consider their diverse revenue streams and their knack for adapting to new technologies like AI,
Yeah.
it makes that higher PE ratio a bit easier to swallow.
Okay, so we've talked about Microsoft's knack for staying agile.
Right.
Their impressive financial standing.
Uh-huh.
And this wide moat that they've built around their business.
Yeah.
It paints a pretty compelling picture for a potential investor.
It does.
But what of the competition? Surely they're not the only players in this massive tech game.
Oh, you were absolutely right. They face stiff competition in every single segment they operate in. But what really sets Microsoft apart is their ability to create this integrated ecosystem.
Okay.
They're not just offering standalone products. They're weaving everything together in a way that few competitors can match.
Can you give me a specific example
Sure.
of what you mean by this integrated ecosystem?
Absolutely. Take their cloud platform, Azure. It's not just a separate service. It's deeply intertwined with their other offerings like Office 365 and Windows. So it's like they're building this world where all of their products work together seamlessly.
So for businesses, it's kind of like a one-stop shop for all their IT needs.
Exactly.
They can get everything from a single provider,
Right.
which could be a huge selling point.
It is.
But what about the powerhouses like
Yeah.
Amazon Web Services, AWS,
Yeah.
and Google Cloud Platform, GCP?
Sure.
They're formidable competitors in the cloud space.
Oh, absolutely. AWS is currently the leader in cloud computing, and GCP is right there in the mix.
Yeah.
But Microsoft is steadily gaining ground.
Okay.
They are investing heavily in Azure, and their growth rate is really impressive.
So it's a tight race.
It is.
But Microsoft's proving that they can compete.
They are.
And even if one area is facing tougher competition, they have these other revenue streams to protect them.
Exactly. Their success isn't solely dependent on any single product or service.
Right.
And that diversification, combined with their commitment to innovation and their really solid financial foundation, makes them a pretty attractive option for long-term investors.
Okay. So far, we've highlighted a lot of positives.
Right.
But let's play devil's advocate for a second.
Okay.
Every investment comes with risks.
It does.
What are some potential downsides or challenges that Microsoft might face in the future?
Well, one concern is their reliance on acquisitions to fuel growth.
Okay.
They've been pretty active in acquiring companies like LinkedIn, GitHub, and even Activision Blizzard. While this can be a good way to expand into new markets and acquire valuable talent, it's a strategy that needs to be managed carefully.
So the question is, can they integrate these acquisitions
Right.
and make them work for the company as a whole?
Exactly. There's always the risk of overpaying or failing to achieve the anticipated benefits.
Yeah, it's a tough thing. Another challenge they face, and this is true for a lot of big tech companies, is increasing scrutiny from regulators around the world.
Yeah.
As a dominant player in the tech industry, Microsoft is facing antitrust concerns and investigations.
It's a legitimate concern.
Yeah.
These investigations could result in fines, restrictions on their business practices, or even, in extreme cases, breakups of their companies. So navigating this complex regulatory landscape is a major challenge for Microsoft.
It sounds like they're walking a tightrope between maintaining their competitive edge
Right.
and operating within the boundaries set by governments.
Exactly. It's a delicate balancing act. But on the flip side, Microsoft has a track record of adapting to change and evolving their business practices. They've navigated numerous technological shifts and economic downturns over the decades. It seems they have a knack for coming out stronger each time.
So there are risks, but there's this element of resilience that's hard to ignore.
Exactly. Their willingness to evolve, embrace new technologies like AI, and integrate them across their offerings gives them a significant advantage. They're not afraid to reinvent themselves while staying true to their core strengths. And for an investor, that's a valuable quality to see.
It's like they're this massive ship that can still maneuver with surprising agility.
It is.
Despite their size, they're not stuck in their ways. They're open to experimenting and embracing new ideas,
They are.
which is pretty remarkable.
It is. That constant drive to improve and stay ahead of the curve is a big part of what makes them such a compelling investment,
Yeah.
even with a price tag that might seem steep at first glance.
I'm starting to see why the Motley Fool is so bullish on Microsoft.
Yeah.
But before we move on, I want to circle back to the competition for a moment.
Okay.
We've talked about the cloud market, but they're not operating in a vacuum. How do they stack up against their rivals in other areas? And what strategies are they using to stay ahead?
You know, it's a jungle out there. Every segment has its own set of fierce competitors. But what distinguishes Microsoft is this focus on building this integrated ecosystem. We talked about that a bit earlier.
So it's not just about individual products.
Right.
It's about how those products work together
Exactly.
to create a seamless experience.
Exactly. Take their cloud computing platform.
Okay.
Azure.
Okay.
Again, it's not just a standalone service. It's deeply integrated with other products like Office 365 and Windows, which a lot of businesses already rely on.
So they're leveraging like their existing relationships
Exactly.
to offer a comprehensive solution.
Yeah, and it's a powerful proposition for businesses of all sizes.
Yeah.
You know, they can streamline their operations, reduce costs, improve efficiency by tapping into Microsoft's integrated ecosystem.
But let's be realistic.
Right.
They're not without competition in the cloud space.
They are not.
We've already mentioned, Amazon Web Services,
Right.
AWS,
AWS.
and Google Cloud Platform GCP. How are they faring against these giants?
It's a heated battle, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
AWS is currently holding the top spot in cloud computing,
Oh.
and GCP is a strong contender.
Yeah.
But Microsoft is steadily gaining ground.
Okay.
You know, they're pouring resources into Azure.
Yeah.
Their growth rate is impressive. They're attracting new customers and expanding their market share.
So it's like a dynamic, evolving landscape,
It is.
even with like established players like AWS and GCP.
Right.
Microsoft is proving that they can compete.
Yeah.
And their diverse revenue streams offer some protection if one segment is having like a slowdown.
Exactly. They're not overly reliant on any single product or service, which gives them a degree of stability.
Yeah.
That's attractive to investors who are seeking long-term growth.
Right.
And when you combine that with their dedication to innovation, it's a compelling argument for their continued success.
Okay. So we've kind of painted a pretty rosy picture so far.
Yeah.
But let's be honest.
Yeah.
No company's without vulnerabilities.
That's true.
What are some potential risks or challenges that could like put a dent in Microsoft's armor?
Well, one concern is their tendency to rely on acquisitions for growth.
Okay.
You know, they've made some major acquisitions lately, like LinkedIn, GitHub,
Right.
and Activision Blizzard, which was a massive deal.
Yes, that one definitely made headlines.
It did.
But isn't like expansion through acquisitions a good thing?
It can be.
Like it allows them to tap into new markets
Right.
and get new technology and talent.
It certainly can be, but it's crucial to ensure that those acquisitions are smoothly integrated
Right.
and actually contribute to the company's overall success.
Right.
There's always a risk of overpaying for an acquisition or failing to realize the expected synergies.
So it's like a balancing act.
It is.
They need to be strategic
Right.
in their M&A activity
Yeah.
to avoid potential pitfalls.
You've hit the nail on the head. Another challenge they face, and it's a growing concern for a lot of these tech giants, is the increasing scrutiny from regulators around the world.
Yeah.
As a dominant force in the tech industry, Microsoft is facing antitrust concerns and investigations.
I've been following those stories as well.
Yeah.
And like governments are increasingly worried about the power these tech giants hold
Exactly.
and the potential for anti-competitive practices.
Exactly. And these investigations could lead to hefty fines, restrictions on their business practices, or even, in some cases, breakups of their companies.
So there's a lot at stake for Microsoft in navigating like this regulatory landscape.
Absolutely. They need to be proactive in addressing these concerns and working collaboratively with regulators to find solutions that benefit both the company and society as a whole. It's a tightrope walk, but it's essential for their continued success.
Okay. So we've talked about potential risks,
Right?
but let's not forget about the opportunity.
Absolutely.
What are some areas where Microsoft could see significant growth in the coming years?
Well, AI is undoubtedly a massive opportunity. They're already integrating AI across their products and services, and that trend is only going to accelerate.
Yeah, I can see that. AI has the potential to, revolutionize so many industries.
It does.
And Microsoft seems really well positioned to capitalize on that. They have the resources, the talent, and a clear vision for how AI can shape the future.
Exactly. Another area where they see tremendous potential is the metaverse.
Oh, the metaverse. Everyone's talking about it.
They are.
But it still feels a bit like science fiction to me.
It does, but it's becoming more real every day, and Microsoft is making strategic moves to establish a presence in this emerging virtual world.
Can you give me an example of what they're doing in the metaverse?
Sure. They're developing a platform called Mesh for Microsoft Teams, which will allow people to collaborate and interact in these virtual environments. It's like taking video conferencing to a whole new level. They're also exploring the use of avatars and holograms to create these more immersive experiences.
It sounds fascinating, but what about the business side of things? How do they plan to make money from the metaverse? It's still so early.
That's true, but the potential revenue streams are significant.
Okay.
They could sell virtual goods and services, host virtual events, create advertising opportunities within the metaverse. It's like a whole new digital economy emerging.
Wow, that's pretty mind-boggling to think about. So AI and the metaverse are two big areas of opportunity.
They are.
Are there any others?
Yes. They're also making significant investments in quantum computing, which has the potential to transform computing as we know it.
I've heard of quantum computing, but it's so complex.
It is.
It seems very futuristic.
It is, but Microsoft is betting that it will be a game changer in the long run.
Yeah.
Quantum computers can tackle problems that are impossible for traditional computers to solve.
So it's like unlocking this whole new level of computing power.
Exactly. And it could have a profound impact on fields like medicine, material science, and artificial intelligence.
So it sounds like Microsoft isn't content with just being a leader in today's tech world. They're looking ahead.
They are.
Positioning themselves at the forefront of these emerging technologies.
Absolutely. They're constantly innovating, pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Yeah.
Which is what makes them such an exciting company to follow.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this first part.
We have.
We've explored Microsoft's strengths, their approach to competition, the risks and opportunities they face, and their ventures into AI and the metaverse.
Yes.
It's a lot to digest.
It is.
But before we move on, I want to bring it back to you, the listener.
Okay.
What are the key takeaways from all this?
Well,
and why should you care?
The key takeaway is that Microsoft is this remarkably resilient and adaptable company. They've navigated numerous technological shifts over the decades.
Right.
And they continue to innovate and evolve. They're not just a tech company. They're a company that leverages technology to solve problems and create value. And for you, as a potential investor, that translates into a company that's focused on long-term growth and delivering returns.
They're not afraid to experiment and take risks.
They are not.
Which is valuable in such a rapidly changing industry.
It is. That mindset, combined with their robust financial position, their diverse business model, their commitment to innovation, makes them a compelling investment, even with their current valuation.
Yeah.
They're not just surviving, they're thriving in a highly competitive landscape.
Okay, so we've established that Microsoft is a force to be reckoned with.
Yes.
A company worth watching.
Definitely.
But let's zoom in on a specific example of their innovative spirit. Copilot.
Okay.
The article highlighted its success in the developer world.
It did.
But what about its broader implications? What does Copilot tell us about Microsoft's vision for the future of technology? And how might that impact your life as a user and a potential investor?
Well, Copilot is more than just a coding assistant.
Oh.
It's like a glimpse into a future where technology becomes more intuitive,
Right.
more accessible to everyone.
Can you expand on that a bit? What makes Copilot so special, and why should we be paying attention to it?
Well, imagine a world where you can use natural language to interact with your computer.
Okay.
You could just say, schedule a meeting with my team for next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Or draft a presentation on the latest market trends, and your computer would understand.
Okay.
And execute those tasks.
That sounds like incredibly convenient.
It is.
It would be like having a personal assistant built into every application.
Exactly. That's the vision behind Copilot.
Okay.
Making technology more user-friendly.
Right.
Empowering people to do more with less effort.
But how realistic is that? Are we really on the verge of, talking to our computers like we talk to each other?
We're getting closer. Natural language processing, or NLP,
Yeah.
has made incredible strides in recent years.
Yeah.
And Copilot is a testament to that progress. It's not just hype. There's real substance behind this technology. As NLP continues to evolve, we can expect even more innovative applications like Copilot to emerge.
So it's not just about making things easier for developers.
No.
It's about transforming the way we interact with technology.
Exactly.
Making it more intuitive. More like human-centric.
Exactly. And that's a vision that has the potential to resonate with a vast audience, not just tech-savvy individuals. It's about democratizing technology and making it accessible to everyone. And for you as an investor, that translates into a company that's not just chasing trends, but shaping the future of how we live and work.
Okay, so Copilot is more than just a cool tool.
It is.
It's a window into Microsoft's broader vision
Right.
for the future of technology.
Yeah.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Copilot's still in its early stages,
It is.
and there are challenges to overcome. What are some of the hurdles they need to clear before this vision becomes a reality?
One major challenge is ensuring that Copilot is reliable
Okay.
and accurate. It needs to understand and respond to a wide range of requests.
Right.
And it needs to do so consistently well.
So it's not just about understanding language.
Right.
It's about understanding, context,
Intent.
the nuances of human communication.
Exactly. And that's a complex task for any AI system.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of work to do,
There is.
but the potential rewards are huge.
They are.
Copilot's a glimpse into this future where technology is more intuitive and helpful.
Right.
And it's just one example of how Microsoft is using AI to create these innovative products and services.
Exactly.
Okay, so Copilot is a fascinating piece of the puzzle.
It is.
But what about their other AI initiatives? What else are they working on behind the scenes?
Well, they're pouring resources into AI research across a wide range of areas, from machine learning to computer vision to natural language processing.
So they're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
No.
They're exploring a wide range of AI applications.
Exactly. They're constantly seeking ways to apply AI to everything, from healthcare to finance to manufacturing. It's like they're on a mission to bring AI into every facet of our lives.
It's a bold ambition, but it's also incredibly inspiring.
It is, and Microsoft is in a great position to contribute significantly to the advancement of AI.
But let's not forget about the competition.
Right.
They're not the only players in the AI game.
Oh, the AI field is incredibly competitive.
Yeah.
You've got giants like Google, Amazon, Meta,
Right.
all investing heavily in AI and making significant progress.
Yeah.
It's a race to the top, and the stakes are high.
So it's a battle of titans.
It is.
But what advantages does Microsoft bring to this fight?
Well, Microsoft has a strong foundation in research,
Okay.
access to vast amounts of data, and a deep understanding of the needs of businesses, which are all crucial in the AI space.
So they're not just throwing money at the problem.
No.
They're approaching it strategically
They are?
with the resources and expertise to actually make an impact.
Exactly. And they're not afraid to compete. They've got the experience and the drive to be a major player in the AI revolution.
Okay. So we've talked about Microsoft's AI work
Right.
and their position in the competitive landscape.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up this first part,
Okay.
I want to step back and consider the bigger picture.
Sure.
What are the broader implications of Microsoft's dominance in the tech industry?
It's a crucial question.
Yeah.
Microsoft's influence reaches far beyond the world of software and hardware. Their decisions have this ripple effect
Right.
across the global economy and society.
Can you give us a specific example?
Absolutely. Think about their cloud computing platform, Azure. It's used by millions of businesses around the world.
Yeah.
The reliability and security of Azure are essential to the functioning of countless organizations.
So their responsibility goes way beyond just delivering a product.
It does.
It's about ensuring the stability
right.
and security
Uh-huh.
of this vast network that underpins so much of the digital world.
Exactly. And their choices about pricing, features, data privacy have a direct impact on their customers.
Right.
And by extension, on the global economy.
It's a lot of power to wield.
It is.
And it's important that they use that power responsibly.
You're absolutely right. Their actions shape not just the tech landscape,
Yeah.
but also the lives of billions of people around the world.
Right.
It's a responsibility they need to take seriously.
This brings us to another important point. This increasing scrutiny from regulators. We talked about that earlier. How do you see those concerns playing out in the context of Microsoft's growing influence and responsibility?
It's a delicate balancing act.
Yeah.
Regulators are rightly concerned about the potential for anti-competitive practices
Right.
and the impact of these tech giants on the market. Microsoft needs to be proactive and transparent in addressing those concerns.
So it's not just about being innovative and successful.
Right.
It's about being responsible and ethical.
Exactly. It's about earning and maintaining the trust of users, governments, and the global community. It's a challenge, but it's one that Microsoft needs to embrace to ensure their continued success and positive impact on the world.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive. We've explored Microsoft's strengths, their approach to competition, the potential risks and opportunities they face, their ventures into cutting-edge fields like AI and the metaverse, and the broader implications of their dominance in the tech world.
There's a lot to consider.
It is a lot to digest. But before we move on to the next part, I want to leave you, the listener, with one final thought to ponder.
Okay.
What does all this mean for you? How might Microsoft's journey impact your life as a user, a consumer, a potential investor?
Yeah.
Take some time to reflect on that,
Okay.
and we'll pick up the conversation in the next part of our deep dive.
Until next time, keep exploring.
All right, see you then.
Sounds good. Welcome back. Ready to continue our deep dive into Microsoft?
Yeah, definitely. Where do we go from here?
Well, last time we were talking about the massive influence that Microsoft has.
Right.
And I think it's important to connect that back to their business model.
Okay.
You know, it's not just about size, it's about how deeply ingrained they are in our digital lives.
Yeah, for sure.
And the Motley Fool article really emphasized that point when they were discussing Microsoft's moat.
Yeah, that was a key takeaway for sure. This moat isn't just about profits, right?
Right.
It's about how far their products and services reach and like how indispensable they've become.
Exactly. It's incredible. Think about it. How many people do you know who haven't used Windows?
Right.
Or Office products? I mean, those tools are practically essential for businesses and individuals.
Yeah, and even if you're not directly using a Microsoft product, you're probably interacting with some system or service that relies on their technology.
Exactly. That's the power of their ecosystem.
Yeah?
And they're constantly expanding that ecosystem
Right.
through acquisitions and partnerships. They've really woven themselves into like the fabric of the modern world.
Yeah.
It creates this barrier to entry that is so difficult for competitors to overcome.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually ties into another point that the article made, which I found really interesting.
Okay.
Microsoft's operating income has been growing even faster than their revenue.
It has over the past decade.
Yeah, what's the significance of that for investors?
Well, it's a clear sign of their efficiency
Okay.
and profitability, you know. They're becoming masters at turning revenue into profit, which is fantastic for anyone who's considering investing in them.
So it's not just growth for growth's sake.
Right.
It's about profitable growth.
Exactly. Sustainable growth.
Right. How are they achieving that?
Through a combination of smart moves, you know.
Yeah.
They're streamlining operations, leveraging their size to get better deals,
Okay.
and really focusing on the products and services with the highest profit margins.
Like their cloud platform, Azure.
Yes, Azure.
That seems to be a real bright spot for them.
It is.
A major driver of their success.
It's a prime example of how they're capitalizing on the shift towards cloud computing.
Okay.
And let's not forget, they're going up against Amazon Web Services,
Right. AWS.
AWS, and Google Cloud Platform.
GCP.
GCP, exactly.
It's a real battle for dominance in the cloud.
It is a fierce battle.
What's their strategy? What are they doing that sets them apart?
Well, first, they're really smart about leveraging their existing relationships with businesses.
Okay.
A lot of companies already use Microsoft products.
Oh, right, like Windows and Office.
Exactly. So it's kind of a natural progression for them to adopt Azure as their cloud platform.
So it's like a one-stop shop of
Exactly.
all their IT needs.
And that's a huge selling point.
For sure. What else?
Second, they are investing heavily in innovation. They're constantly adding new features and services to Azure,
Oh, okay.
making it easier for developers to build and deploy applications on their platform.
So they're attracting both businesses and developers.
They are creating a win-win situation.
That's smart.
And third, they're offering competitive pricing.
Okay.
They know they need to be price competitive to win market share from AWS and GCP.
It's a really multi-pronged approach,
It is.
really playing to their strengths, adapting to the demands of the market.
Exactly.
And they're not shying away from big moves either.
No.
Like that Activision Blizzard acquisition.
Right.
That was a huge statement.
It was a massive acquisition.
Yeah.
And it really says a lot about their vision. They see gaming as a key growth area,
Right.
particularly with the emergence of the metaverse.
Right, this whole new virtual world.
Exactly, where people can interact and collaborate in ways we've never seen before.
It's like they're not just focused on today's market.
Right.
They're thinking about the future.
They're looking ahead, positioning themselves to be leaders in those technologies of the future.
Okay, so we've explored a lot of the positives about Microsoft.
Yeah.
Their innovative spirit, their financial strength, their acquisitions.
Uh-huh.
But let's not shy away from something that we've touched on before.
Okay.
The increasing scrutiny from regulators.
Right.
The Motley Fool article mentioned this too.
Right.
What are the key concerns there? And how could those concerns impact Microsoft's future?
Well, it's a critical consideration for any investor.
Yeah.
There are growing concerns about their market power
Okay.
and the potential for anti-competitive practices. Regulators want to make sure that Microsoft isn't using its dominance to stifle competition or harm consumers.
So it's a tough balancing act. They have to maintain that competitive edge, but also operate within the rules set by governments.
Exactly. They're walking a tightrope.
How are they navigating that?
Carefully.
Yeah.
They understand how important transparency is
Okay.
and accountability.
Right.
They're investing a lot in their legal and compliance teams to make sure they're doing everything by the book
Okay.
and engaging in dialogue with regulators.
So it's a balancing act.
It is.
Pushing boundaries, but respecting the rules.
Yeah. But let's shift gears for a second. I want to talk about the HUMI side of things.
Okay.
We've been talking about their financials
Right.
and their technology.
Right.
But what about their impact on people?
Yeah, that's an important point. The article didn't really get into that too much.
No, it didn't. But I think it's essential to consider. Their products and services affect the lives of billions of people.
They do?
And their decisions about accessibility, affordability, data privacy, those have real consequences for individuals.
So it's not just about profits.
Right.
It's about people.
Exactly.
What are some examples of how they're addressing those human-centric concerns?
Well, they're making efforts on several fronts. For example, they've been working to make their products more accessible to people with disabilities,
Okay.
making sure that everyone can benefit from technology.
That's great.
And they're also working to bridge the digital divide,
Yeah.
providing internet access and devices to underserved communities,
Right.
which is essential for making sure everyone can participate in the digital economy.
So these initiatives show a real commitment to making a positive impact.
Exactly. It shows that they're not just a faceless corporation.
Right.
They're a company made up of individuals who care about the world.
Yeah. It humanizes them.
It does.
Shows they're aware of their responsibility.
Exactly. And that they're trying to use their power for good.
Okay. Let's circle back to their financials for a moment.
Sure.
The article highlighted their incredible growth,
Right.
especially in their cloud segment.
Uh-huh.
But they also mentioned this high price-to-earnings ratio.
Yeah.
The PE ratio, 37.1.
Right.
That might make some investors hesitate. How do we, reconcile those two things? The impressive growth and the high PE.
It's a good question, and you're right. At first glance, a PE of 37.1 might seem high.
Yeah.
But you have to consider the quality and consistency of Microsoft's earnings. They have a proven track record
Okay.
of consistent growth
Yeah.
Across different segments.
Right.
And their stock buybacks boost earnings per share even more.
So it's not just about the raw earnings number.
Right.
It's about the reliability,
Right.
the predictability.
Exactly. And that's really valuable to investors.
Yeah, they're willing to pay a premium for that.
They are. That higher PE ratio shows that the market believes in Microsoft. They believe in their ability to keep growing
Okay.
and to generate strong profits.
Mm-hmm.
Investors are betting on their future success, their diverse revenue streams,
Okay.
their adaptability, their leadership.
So the PE, while it seems high, actually reflects confidence in Microsoft's future.
Exactly. It's a vote of confidence.
Okay. But we can't forget about the competition.
No.
We've talked about the cloud market, but they have competitors in other areas too.
Absolutely. They face intense competition across all their businesses.
Right.
The tech world never stops moving.
Yeah.
Complacency can be fatal, but Microsoft has shown that they can adapt,
Okay.
they can innovate,
Yeah.
and they can compete.
So what's their secret? What sets them apart?
Well, one thing is their focus on building a cohesive ecosystem.
Okay, we talked about that earlier.
Yes, we did. It's not about offering a bunch of separate products. It's about creating a seamless, integrated experience.
Okay, I get it. Give me a specific example of that.
Sure. Think about their productivity suite, Microsoft 365.
Okay.
It's not just Word, Excel, and PowerPoint anymore.
Right.
They've integrated those apps with cloud services like OneDrive and Teams.
Okay.
It's a unified platform for working together.
So
right?
instead of separate tools for different tasks, you have this integrated system.
Exactly.
That's powerful.
It is. And that approach extends to other areas, too.
Okay.
Their gaming ecosystem connects consoles, PC gaming, cloud gaming, and even mobile devices.
They're creating these interconnected worlds
Yeah,
to meet different needs and preferences.
exactly. But we do need to talk about potential risks.
Right.
We've talked about regulation, but are there other challenges out there?
Well, one that comes to mind is the speed of technological change.
Right.
What's cutting edge today could be obsolete tomorrow.
Exactly.
So Microsoft has to stay ahead of the curve.
They have to anticipate the next big thing. Otherwise, they risk falling behind.
It's like they're constantly running.
They can't afford to rest. They have to be ready to change,
Right.
to adapt.
And that's where their culture of innovation is so important.
It is.
They're willing to experiment.
Absolutely. To take risks.
Yeah.
And they're not afraid to fail.
So it's not just about winning.
Yeah.
It's about learning.
It's about constantly evolving.
Right.
Oh,
Okay. We've talked about the challenges, but let's end on a more positive note.
okay.
What makes you optimistic about Microsoft's future?
Well, their leadership is a big factor.
Okay.
Satya Nadella has done a phenomenal job
Yeah.
transforming the company, building a culture of innovation,
Right.
and putting them on a path for long-term growth.
It's like you brought new energy to the company.
You did.
A new focus.
The focus on what matters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What else makes you optimistic?
Their commitment to social responsibility.
Okay.
They're not just talking about it, they're taking action.
Yeah.
Climate change, education, healthcare, they're trying to make a real difference.
That's great to see.
It is.
A company that wants to do good.
It shows they're not just driven by profit.
Right.
They want to have a positive impact on the world.
Okay. Well, we've covered a lot in this deep dive.
We have.
Their financials, their innovation, their competition,
Uh-huh.
their vision.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we've really gotten a sense of what makes them tick.
We have. Why they're still such a major force in the tech world.
Okay. As we wrap up this part, here's something for you to think about.
Okay.
We've talked about their past and their present,
Mm-hmm.
but what about their future?
Good question.
What role will they play in the world of tomorrow?
Right.
Will they keep leading innovation,
Yeah.
or will they be overtaken?
Who knows?
Only time will tell.
Exactly.
But one thing's for sure, their story isn't over yet,
No, it's not. It's still being written.
and it's going to be exciting to follow.
Absolutely. Stay curious. Keep exploring.
We'll see you on our next deep dive.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to our deep dive on Microsoft. We've talked a lot about their success and their strategies, but the Motley Fool article really hammered home this idea of Microsoft staying agile, which can't be easy for a company of their size, right?
It's truly impressive. Yeah. They managed to balance this long-term vision with actually getting things done in the short term, which is not easy. It's not just about chasing the latest fads. They're making strategic decisions about technologies that they believe will have staying power.
And their investments in AI and the metaverse, even quantum computing, are perfect examples, right? These are potentially huge shifts in technology.
Absolutely. And they're not just, dipping their toes in the water. They're going all in. Acquisitions, partnerships, research and development. It's a bold approach.
And it's clearly paying off. I mean, their financial performance, they consistently beat analysts' expectations. Investors are confident that Microsoft will continue to innovate and grow.
The market definitely seems to think so, yeah.
But let's be real. The tech world is unpredictable. Things change quickly. What are some potential problems that could really hurt Microsoft's success?
Well, for one, the competition is intense. You've got Amazon, Google, Apple, all these massive companies fighting for the same customers.
So it's like a constant race. They can't afford to slow down.
Exactly. And technology is always evolving. Something that's revolutionary today could be old news tomorrow. Microsoft has to be able to see what's coming next.
They can't just rest on their laurels.
Not at all. They have to be ready to adapt, change direction, and that's where this culture of innovation that we've been talking about really comes in. They're willing to experiment, take risks, and even fail sometimes.
So it's not just about always being right.
No, it's about learning from everything, the successes and the failures, and using that to keep moving forward. That kind of mindset is so valuable in an industry where things are always changing.
Okay, so we've talked about the challenges they face, but let's end on a positive note here. What makes you optimistic about Microsoft's future? What are the things that you see that point to their continued success?
I think their leadership is a huge factor. Satya Nadella has done a remarkable job transforming the company, creating a more innovative environment. He's set them up for continued growth.
Yeah, he seems to have really revitalized Microsoft, brought a fresh perspective.
Absolutely, and their commitment to making a positive impact on the world is another reason for optimism. They're taking on some of the biggest challenges we face: climate change, education, improving healthcare. They're using their resources and influence for good.
It's inspiring to see a company like Microsoft, with all its power, actually trying to make a difference.
It really is. It shows they're not just motivated by profits, they have a deeper purpose.
Well, I think we've covered a lot in this deep dive. We've looked at their finances, their innovation, how they deal with competition, their plans for the future. We've really gotten to know Microsoft as a company.
I think so, yeah. We've explored what makes them tick, why they continue to be such a dominant force in the tech world. It's been fascinating.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you, the listener, with one last thought. We've explored Microsoft's past and present, but what about their future? Will they continue to be a leader in innovation, or will they be overtaken by the next generation of tech giants? It's an exciting time in the tech world, full of possibilities, and Microsoft is right in the middle of it. So keep exploring, keep asking questions, and thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
And remember, the future is out there for the taking.